Good morning, this is Mary Harris from Paper Crow. I've been putting together a project to recycle the boards from these old kids' boards books that have been abandoned at our local thrift store. I have been buying wood squares to make books, but this just seems like a little bit more true to the junk journal style, so I'm going to give it a try. We'll be learning together as we go. I have a couple of books about this size. I tried to match them up so that I can later on use this project for a class that I'm going to do. I wanted to do a book that uses a binder clip that doesn't have to be attached to the board. So for simplicity's sake, for folks that are learning that haven't done any junk journaling before, we'll see if it's actually easier as we go. There's some paint on here because I was working on making a stencil for the holes for my binder clip. So I painted the edges, got it all over, but I painted the edges and then I made marks to get the distance for the binder clip and then punched the holes in so that I can use this later whenever I want to make holes and make sure that they're spaced right for this type of binder clip. I did buy a punch to go with these, but it doesn't line up the same. That's the tricky part about some, different brands with art projects, is sometimes they aren't sized the same. So now that I got paint all over that, I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to take this board book and I'm going to cut the board pieces off with just a regular straight razor, or not straight, I guess, what do you call these, box cutter? It's my preferred method for cutting through board. If you have something better, by all means use it. I also am doing this on a cutting mat. I have in the past used just like a hunk of old wood that you might have in your basement. If I'm really going to be cutting hard into it, or if I'm going to use a Dremel to cut it, I'll use something like that so I don't chop things up in the art room. So we've got that detached. I wonder how easily these will come. Nope, we're going to have to cut each one. So I'm just going to cut 2 today because I'm just using them for the cover and the back. So we can set this aside. Now the tricky thing with this is going to be it has a shiny surface. So when we go to glue things to it, we're going to have to rough it up a little bit. First things first, I'm going to punch holes in it. Even though I'm probably going to have to punch the holes many, many times, I want to make sure that I can keep track of where the holes need to be and be able to punch through all of it. So once I put material on it and things like that, it'll get harder and harder to punch the holes through. So I usually do a hole right from the beginning, so then it's easier to punch through the fabric and the papers and stuff. So we're going to draw them on first. Making sure that the rounded side of the page is going in the direction we want. In this case, I don't care which side is which for the book. But if you have, if you're trying to save an image or something like that, you're going to want to make sure that they're facing the right way. And in this case, the smaller hole on a crock fits this type of clip, which is not always true with some of those clips that you buy. So I'm going to use the smaller clip or smaller punch for the board because it'll be more stable. But you can use a regular punch for this. You might have to fight a little more to get a regular punch through this thick of board, but I'm thinking that this might be easier for new junk journalers for binding in like a short class, because they won't have to wait for things to dry as they do, you know, they can do one page at a time and set it aside. So that's my thinking on this. That's why I want to get a good plan for doing it, because I am teaching some classes, but I may be completely wrong. Alright, so these will be our covers. Now I need to pick some fabric to cover them. I am doing Halloween books right now. It is just that time of year, prepping for a show. So I have a lot of different orange fabrics that I've bought recently. I'll take one of these boards, and I can either measure a length. So if this is 7 by 7, so I could do 8 by 8 and measure it that way. I tend to go for a more plain fabric, and then I add a lot of embellishments. So when you go to do the covers, for those of you who haven't done these before, you want to cut most of the corner off, because it's just extra bulk that will get in the way when you go to fold the fabric over. Make sure you keep your board on there when you cut it, so that you're not cutting too deep, because you do want it to fold over a little bit in this corner section. You don't want it to have this much bulk, because it's just extra fabric that will bunch up, but you want it to be able to glue down. I'm going to do both at the same time because it's easier for me. I just realized my air conditioner was running behind me, so hopefully you can still hear me with that thing going. It's funny how you just tune out white noise after a while and don't even know it's there. Now that I have this fabric cut, I want to rough up this board so that the glue will stay to it. It has some kind of glossy sheen on it. Pretty much every board book I found had this sort of glossy coating, so I just want to rough it up enough that glue will stick to it. And I'm going to do both sides. And I'm going to do both the cover and the back. I also am doing this where I cut it just a little bit so that it loses the bump that's there from me cutting it. That shakes the whole table. Be good enough. I don't know if any of you have done this, but I have a tendency to be impatient, and then paint and glue will just come off of things, so I'm trying to be more conscious of it. Alright, now we're going to cover our front and back, and I'm just making sure that I have them going in opposite directions so I have a front and back when I'm done. And now I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. I found this is the best for sticking down fabric on board. If it was wood, you can use wood glue, and that's pretty effective. I'm going to push down the corners first. With some fabrics, you'll want to rub that glue down to make it thinner. This fabric's pretty forgiving. It doesn't show wet spots very easily. Now, I tend to run glue along the edge to make sure that this fabric will stay tight on the edge of the board. And then I glue the rest down. And that's just my preference. I don't like to have books where it looks like the board isn't attached very well. You can also put glue on the other side of the board before you put the fabric down. The issue I've had with that is that if I don't do a good job of it, then I have wet spots all over the material, so I'm not big on doing that just because of my own impatience. I don't always rub in the glue as well as I should. So one side down. You can see it's a lot cleaner of a corner here without all that bulk from what we cut off. You can put some glue in here and glue this part down, and that can make it a little easier. Make sure you don't leave any globs of glue when you go to fold things over. That's why I put it on the board, but then I rub it down into the corner so that I don't get that watermark from the glue coming through. Later on, we're going to put paper on the other side of this, so you won't see this image anymore. And as we get to doing different parts, you're going to see the beauty of having a binder style instead of trying to assemble it as a fully glued down book. I think my glue bottle's getting a little empty. I've been doing a lot of projects lately. I'm taking a class myself that's online. Alright, we have our two covers with fabric on one side. We're going to repunch the holes. And to make my life easier, I'm going to find the holes and I got so much glue on my hands. I'm going to find the holes and put a dot there to help myself, but doing it on the inside. You can make this easier by punching it. Both sides punched. Now we want to cover the inside with a decorative paper of some form. So let's see what we have. Because I'm doing like a Halloween style, I have this black and white pages book I could use. It'll work for the size. I just have to decide what I want for a Halloween style, but like fun Halloween, not creepy Halloween. I could just do a dark lined. I kind of like this old wallpaper-ish look. Well, that could be good. And I have 2 pages of it, so it's enough. Now we know that the covers are 7 by 7, so you can measure out with a ruler or you can use a cutter. I'm going to put my glue cap on before it hardens on me. Okay, and because I have a cutter, I can do 2 pages at once. I'm going to go a little bit smaller than the 7 inches because I don't want it to go all the way to the edge. So I'm going to go 6.5 by 6.5. We'll move this out of the way. When we put it up against the board, it should match up with just a little bit of a line, and then all we have to do is glue it down. You could round the edges if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to since it's not a very sharp curve on that edge and it fits on there perfectly. So we're going to use Fabri-Tac. It's going to use a little bit more to do this than on the cloth because we're not going to just do the edges. I'm going to make sure I get right to the edge. We don't have to worry so much about water spots with the paper as long as the paper is a little bit thicker. Regular notebook paper, sometimes it can bleed through. It's not a super wet glue, so you can get away with a lot with this stuff. I'm going to rub it in so it's thinner, so you don't end up, it will leave bumps if you don't do this because it is a thicker glue. So you want to make sure you rub it down flat, and then we're going to center it as best we can. And push it down. You have a little bit of a leeway to get it pushed down with Fabri-Tac, but it does dry pretty quick. So, one down, one to go. covers. Make sure I got them going the right direction. Now we need to repunch those holes again because now there's paper over them. Now this can be a little bit redundant, but now to finish off those holes, I do have some clips here. Let's see if I can find the right size. I mean, these are called eyelets. I always just call them clips. I do want to make sure that the eyelet hole, oh, that's upside down. I want to make sure that these will go through this eyelet. It looks like it will get stuck. So maybe I do have to go a little bit bigger with the holes. Okay, well, live and learn. Clean up my mess that I made now. Never fails that I will spill something all over the place if I'm recording myself. Okay. Well, I have these gold ones. They're fairly big. It does mean we have to punch some bigger holes in here though, unfortunately. I have to do it all over again. One thing about having bigger holes in here is that there's more forgiveness when you go to put the clip in because it can move around a little bit. So once those bigger holes are punched in, we can put the eyelets in. Okay. And then with these Crocs, you're looking to use that tooth, put the tooth up so you can put it into the eyelet and squeeze it shut. You're just going to go down the row. Now you don't have to do this. If you don't have these tools, it will be fine. It just gives it a more finished look to have the eyelets in the holes. So then when we put it on our ring and it's closed, it has that more finished. It also can take a little bit more stress on the holes if there's those eyelets in there. I'm going to do the other side now. Alright, so now we have a front and back. So let's put them on here so we can get a feel for it. These are interesting little devices. I wasn't expecting them to be quite so free-floating when I ordered them. So we'll get the back on there, and the front on there. They have an edge that hooks, so you have to actually push it in and hook it. Might look a little weird with the paint I put on there too. But once it's clipped into place, then you can open and close it and it doesn't come off. So we could do a book going this direction and have it open, or this way. And I think I want to do one going this way. I rarely do books that are this portrait style. So we have the base for our book. Now we should add some decoration to it. Let's see what I have. Well, I dug out all of the Halloween stuff that I kind of have floating around from my Mass Makes. I'm trying to decide how I want to go with this. I have some paper lace, so that could be an option. I have this sort of material lace that I can cut chunks off of, and it's really easy to rough it up and make it look worn. So that could go behind an image. I have these pockets and things that I've made. This is a matchbook notebook. I have some bundles that are just little artistic things. This is a pocket that I could put on there and put an image into it. Maybe I can find a spooky photo or something like that. These are just other types of pockets, so it could be used as a pocket, or it could be, because it's just a flat piece, you can, you know, change how you do it. I think it would be fun to have a rotating image, so then you could have something underneath it and then rotate it to see. I have these Halloween decorations. They're meant to run fabric through, but I really like him. He's super cute. He's fun too. Actually, this guy's pretty cute too. So I could have like one guy on here. Actually, he looks the best on that one. And then have it rotate off, and underneath have another guy and have some way to attach that. Decisions. Let's start with this part though. So I think this is a good fit to do. Well, I've been moving things around, trying to settle on how I want it to be, and I decided to put the lace on this side because it's kind of like upside down on half no matter what way I put it, and he's looking this way, which I like better. I do want to put the rotation aligned with this hole, so I want to have it in the corner so that this will rotate like this, and we can put some sayings here when it's all done. And I found some Halloween jewelry that I've made before for adding bling onto books, and I think I want to put something big and dangly on the front, and then something that's a little more flat on the back so that the lid will, or the cover will close easily. So I'm going to set those aside for now. The first thing we need to do is glue this down to the fabric, and I really want it to go pretty close to the edge of the book. I don't want it to overhang a whole lot, just because it looks better to me. I don't know, some people might want it to go in a little bit. You do have to keep in mind where those pop up, so you can't overlap it. We could do it something like this. That's not too bad if we have a little bit of red on the side. Maybe, yeah, I think maybe I'll do that. I'm only gonna glue probably halfway over so that the edges of the paper lace still look a little bit free moving. They'll be very secure with the fabric glue just on the one side. I rub it down. It's not really gonna probably show through if you miss some spots, but it does get a little bit bumpy. I'm gonna line up one edge. Try to keep an even distance on this side. And then we can cut off the leftover after it hardens. Now I want to figure out where we want to put the hole. I'm going to start off by putting a hole in this decorative piece. And we're using just the small hole. I mean, you can use whatever hole puncher you have available. You could use any image for this, so it could just be a photo that you have. If it's a really thin piece of paper, like from a book, like if I was going to use, oops, if I was going to use something like a Halloween book, like an image from it, then I would glue it onto some cardboard to make it a little stiffer so that it can handle being rotated. So we have a hole in each of those. Now we got to figure out where we want it on here. I want it to be somewhat centered, and I'm going to draw a hole in it. You may have to select where you put it based on the type of hole puncher you have. I have a bigger hole puncher that I can use that can do this sort of long distance. Let's see if here we go. So this is the mammoth crocodile. So I can punch a hole in books and things with this. I just gotta, let's see, I want the smaller hole. So the way this works, you can slide it for the different size holes, and then you can also punch in the eyelets with it. So I'm gonna lay it like this. It does require me to get down a little bit to be able to see where it is. Ooh, that's the wrong one. There we go. And I think for good measure, I'm going to put an eyelet in this hole. Maybe do I want to do a bigger hole? Actually, I think I do want to do a bigger hole for this, because by the time I put an eyelet in, it will lose some space to maneuver. Alright. So now that I have a hole, this bigger hole on the crocodile is about the same as a regular hole puncher, so you know when you're trying to figure out what you want to use. Oh, I'll have to use this bigger. Alright, we're going to flip it to the eyelet. Nope, that's not. There we go, all the way. Every once in a while this thing gets sassy on me. There we go. It creaks like the joints of an old man. So we have our eyelets. I'm gonna do that a little bit tighter because I don't think it's in there well enough. This is probably the most difficult tool to use that I have, because it's hard to really see if you have things lined up. Okay, so we have our hole. It's secure. It can take some abuse now that it has an eyelet in there. And we have our decorations, and we have our outside and our inside. All right, we have the eyelet set in so that it's clean all the way through. The lace is glued down. Now I'm going to use some real lace and line up the hole on the eyelet so that I can easily get things in there. I like to rough up the edges before I glue it on, because I don't like anything looking neat and clean these days. I like things being worn out looking. There. Now I'm going to put fabric glue I tend to put it down in the areas where the lace is really dense, and I'll put a lot there, and then I'll use my fingers to kind of blend it onto the areas that aren't as dense, just to make sure that I don't have a bunch of glue sticking through once I set it down. So remember to line up that hole if you're putting lace over there. Yours will probably look a little bit different if you're not going to have the same supplies as me, but now I have a brad I'm going to use. There's a lot of different types of brads. This one has a decoration on it, and it doesn't have to be that big. It can be a regular office-sized brad, but this just happens to be what I have. And I'm going to put it through the decoration pocket type thing that I made, and through the hole and the eyelet. I'm going to line up how I want this, because this has some writing on it. I don't want it to be upside down. I'm going to push it in tight and then bend the brad over. We're going to cover this later so it doesn't show, but make sure it's nice and tight, because you want this to rotate but not fall loose. So if I lift it up, it's not going to fall over. Now we have our little guy. I ran some thread through it. I happen to have some gold thread, so it adds a little bit more pizzazz, but you can use whatever color fits your fancy. If you want to make one of these from materials you have at home rather than trying to find old decorations, you can just take a Halloween book. Like I have this Halloween bear book. I could cut out a figure and glue it to some cardboard and punch a hole in it, and it would create the same thing. So I tied a knot here close to the base, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten it on here with a little bit of room to dangle, and I'm just going to wrap it around the inside part of the brad. So we'll do a couple loops and then leave it kind of hanging off. So then he kind of floats around. This can rotate and he's not going to be in the way. Alright, I want to add a little bit of bling. So I have this pumpkin jewel. This was just from Michael's. You can find little holiday themed beads and stuff. With this binder clip, you can just open it and put danglies on there, and if you don't like them, you can take them off, and it's a fairly easy thing versus when you have a permanently bound book. So we have our rotating image, we have our little dangly guy, we have our pumpkin. I want to add some words here, and I found these little clippings that are Halloween related. This one says, "How can we help her overcome her terror? Don't be dismayed. She screams. We are afraid." I think I'm gonna go with "Don't be dismayed." It's a very small, I'm bumping the camera here, sorry. It's a very small image, but once we add the background color, I think it will be big enough for it to stick out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it onto something that's a little darker, so then it will pop. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. You could use glitter glue because it's just paper on paper, but this is what I already have out because everything else is fabric. I'm going to glue it onto this cardstock and give it a wide frame. Oh, I guess I have a couple pieces there. Now if you want to get really elaborate, you could ink this up to give it more of an aged edge. And then we're going to glue it on here. You could do multiple words on there if you wanted to. I think I'm happy with just that one. I want it to be, yeah, we'll do that. So it's a little bit offset, but it's more over the white part, so it pops a little bit more. There we go. So now when he dangles, he's not going to get in the way of it, and we can rotate it. We'll have to figure out an image for the inside. Let's look at the other side here. When it flips up, we want to make sure that this brad is covered. So we can use a pocket. Actually, this one might not be too bad. You can use a pocket like this. Actually, I like that one better. Yeah, that one's perfect. Okay, so I'm actually gonna glue it on 3 sides and leave the top unglued, because then if I want to tuck something on the top part and have it be a double tuck, it's possible without me having to change anything. Make sure I push it down where the glue is. Oop, I'm getting glue everywhere. Alright. So now if I wanted to, say, tuck her in there, she fits nicely. She won't come out when I flip it. Okay. Now we can dress up this back part if we want to. I have this tuck. And we could do it either way. I think I might do it this way just because that lace here, it decorates the bottom, but also it would get in the way if it was on the top. So I think I'm gonna, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. That works. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do 3 edges and leave the top unglued. I'm gonna be more patient this time and actually rub it down flat so it's not such a mess as the last one was. And I'm going to line it up so that lace goes over the bottom part of the gray. Just gives it a more finished look. Is this one coming? Oh, no, that one's good. Okay. So now this one could have a tuck too. I think these might be too tall. We'll have to come up with a tuck for that part. Now we can start looking at our pages. Alright, I have a couple of sample pages here. I have just a piece of typing paper that's been inked up. This is a double-sided, actually I have a couple pages here of double-sided scrapbooking paper, 12 by 12. And then I have some, it's coffee dyed music paper with, this was painted with bubble wrap from packing to add some images, and this is another stencil. So to make some simple pages without having to totally lose your mind over it, we can take a page like this where it has printing already on it and fold up. We don't want to be as long as the book itself because we don't want it to hang over. So we know the book is 7 inches. So I went 6 3/4 inches and folded it up. And this creates a pocket without having to work super hard at it. I'm going to glue it in place in the center. If I can get the glue out, or the cap to the glue out. Okay, I guess we'll use this one. So we're going to put glue in the center here. And then on each edge, I'm going to try to go close to the edge so that the pocket is deep enough, or wide enough, excuse me. So we're pushing down on the glue as it dries, and then when we fold it, it will automatically have two pockets to put things in. Well, I took a little bit of a break. I got a little sick, so I'm coming back to this project. I don't know, for some reason every illness is going around in the school I'm at, so yeah, I have lost a little bit of my voice, but you should still be able to understand me, I hope. All right, so I have some things here that I've tried out for the cover, because I had kind of set it aside. I want to have something that goes underneath this swinging, I don't know what you want to call it, page or whatever. I took some images actually from a comic book and stitched around them onto some material to give it a little bit of a background. And I want to find the right fit for underneath here. It's got to be hidden when this is over and then peek out. I like her, but also him. I'm leaning towards this guy just because it's Don't Be Dismayed, and this one's more hysterical crying. So I'm gonna glue that in with some Fabri-Tac. I'm gonna glue where the stitches are going inward, but leave the outside a little bit loose so it kind of brushes off the page a little bit. Gives it more of a three-dimensional thing. I'm going to rub that in so it doesn't get too thick and make a wet spot. Okay, gotta double check, make sure it covers. There we go. I love it. Okay, so I need to cut this fringe off. I left it there to dry fully, but I don't want to forget and leave that on there. All right, moving on. Now we have our pages here that were kind of folded up, but not completed. This I just kind of set there because I kind of like it, but I haven't attached it yet. Okay, so I want to get some tucks for this page. I had kind of left off there before. And I have some, let's see, I have some different tucks that are already put together. I like to do mass makes of things that I can make into what I like, something more personalized for a project after the fact. So like I have the basics here, but then if I want to add something I can. So I have that one, I have this right here. It just is really blank, but then I could like put an image in here, put something on the cover. I have a few that I have this one that has pages. This is like a trifold, but it's angled, so you can have some things sticking up that are glued to it. It gives it some character. These are too big. Let's see. I have a few of these trifold ones that they're not finished. They're just partially put together. So I have this one. It has the papers in it to write already, but that's it. So like this could fit in here and kind of goes with the color scheme. Actually, I really like that one. And then this one's small enough to go in here. How'd they look together though? I don't know if I like that. This one could fit in there. It's a bit bulky. No, maybe not. And this one, well, we'll come back to it. I have to think about it. So I'm gonna set this one aside. This one I want to use more like writing paper, but it is a tuck. I made both of these so that you could tuck things into it. Oh yeah, that's right. I have these. No, that matches too much. Okay, so these can be thicker tucks, or it can just be a simple tuck that goes into, or let's see, could have something, I don't know that matches. But if we think ahead of time about what will fit in there, then we can plan our other designs around it. A lot of this stuff is too tall. I think my dog has the zoomies, so you can probably hear him in the background. This could work. It might be a little heavy though. Yeah. So this is a really loose, like, copy paper. So I gotta make sure I don't put something too bulky that it can't really handle the weight of. We could just do a simple, oh, where did those? I have just, those are too thin probably. But we could just do a 1-page tuck that goes in instead of one of these fancy folding things that takes up so much space and has so much weight to it. I have this one too, but it's kind of the wrong direction. Okay, I know I'm kind of mumbling to myself here, but I know for sure I want that one in there. And this one could fit. And we could leave it fairly simple, but it does need to have something added to it because that's a little bit too boring. So I'll take it out for now. So we have these 3 pages. I'm just simplifying it and making 3 pages for now because there's a lot to make in a book and you're gonna get sick of watching this thing eventually. So I'm gonna put the holes in first. And to do that, I need to separate out pieces so that I can punch it easily. And I'm going to line up using my stencil that I made, center it as best I can on here, and then I'm going to draw the holes on. I'm going to do all the drawn holes first and then go back and punch them. So get that one in. I'm going to take the stuff out of the pockets here. I'm actually going to punch this fold of papers and the pink one together because I'm going to attach them like a signature, so I want the holes to be in the same spot. My reasoning for that is that the eyelets will work better if the paper is a little bit thicker. And I'm actually going to do the bigger hole on there, even though I drew smaller holes. So I'm going to punch all of them out first. one's 2. Even though I'm only doing 3 pages, this book can fit many more than that, and it could be something that you keep adding to as you go. Okay, I gotta find the right eyelets here. There we go. So when I put these in, it's going to give this fold extra strength. So when you actually flip the book, it's going to be bending right here rather than at the fold, so it'll last a little bit longer. But it can seem a little awkward at first just because it's not going to flip like a regular book. I have to flip this for the bigger eyelets. So you want the bigger tooth on here if you have this style. Now, if you don't have this kind of crock and you can't put eyelets in, you can put an extra piece of cardstock over this crease and then punch your holes, and it'll give it more strength. Oops. I'm going to go back through. I don't think I quite squeezed those enough. So it's bent in. Looks clean. Now when I fold it up, it opens like this rather than on the fold. But then I can clip it in here, and it's got that metal to support it. And we're going to do these 2 pages together. I think I'm actually going to, let's see how this looks if I put them inside. That's nice. I'm going to do that. All right, now we have those supported. Now we can start doing some of these other details. Okay, I want to put some writing space here, but I gotta make sure I have the lines going the right way on the paper. So I have a couple of pre-cut things here. Let's find the right one. That one looks like it will fit. You could get fancier if you want to. I like to leave room for people to write in them because I usually give these away to other people. Sometimes people make them as art pieces on their own and they're not looking to have that open space. I always tend to ink the edges because it makes it pop more and look a little bit more finished. But it has a bit more of a grunge look. If you don't like that, then you might not want to do that. Okay. This paper is a finer paper, so I am not going to use glitter glue because glitter glue is a little bit wetter and it seems to show through really thin papers. Now these other ones I'm going to put things in. I'm not necessarily going to add more decoration to them. So I think this one is going to go in here. A little harder to tuck when it's, there we go. I like that these are put together the way they are because it breaks it up a little bit. I'm actually going to fold this, I think, and keep from pulling on those eyelets. Now I I cut up some just plain light pieces of paper and some different scraps to put on for writing. And I'm just gonna age them a little bit and glue them together. So there's something light in here that people can take off, or take out, but it won't weigh that page down too much. I think I'm running out of glue. I do buy the big bottles of Fabri-Tac. I go through so much, but I have to remember to refill these little ones. Oh, I guess I should have inked that first, but oh well, we're here now. I'm gonna ink this up. I can still go back and ink this part if I want. It's just a little bit, it's not as clean. I mean, not that you're trying to make it look clean, you're trying to make it look dirty, but it's just not as good of an edge, I guess. Depends on how much of a perfectionist you are, I guess. So it fits in there, but it's still light. I'm going to do a couple of these and then we'll add a little bit of bling to them just so they don't look quite so boring. This time I'm going to do this ahead of time. If I think ahead before I coffee dye these, I can get nice coffee dyed edges, but I usually end up coffee dyeing pages in bulk and then cutting them up later. Okay. I'll do the same thing with this one. Okay, that one fits in here. And then we need one more for this page. Let me take a little bit off that. That will work. I just like that side better. Less room to write, but oh, I didn't ink it again. That's why I end up doing mass makes, because I can do one step, go all the way through, and I don't have to worry about forgetting something important. So we've got some basics in there. The spot to write, empty page on that side. We've got tucks, more space. I'm actually going to bend this whole thing so it clearly folds on that one spot when people go to look at it. Okay. Now, I don't want to make those tucks like they're bookmarks. I don't want to weigh them down with too much bling. I do want to add a little something on the other side so when you pull it out, it's not just blank. I also want to put a belly band on this, somewhere on this one. I'm do the same thing, I'm kind of giving it a fold just to minimize the stress on those. There we go. So I'm thinking a belly band on here, and it gives us the ability to tuck something in. So I want to make sure I line it up with something I want to tuck. It could be that I tuck something like this. That's a little bit too big. Try a smaller one. I have this. And this one. Oh. Decisions. Well, let's just put a belly band in and go from there. So what I want to do is glue the top down. You want to make sure there's room for the pages near it to move. I just put the glue on the edge, and I like to go a little off center because usually when you put a tuck in there, you have a decoration on whatever you're tucking in. I'm gonna trim this for the length of the paper. And put glue on this end too. It's a very simple thing that adds a lot of character to your page. We could do another one on the back that goes the, oh, is it, well, we can still do it. It's long enough that it looks like it's supposed to be that way. We'll do a tuck going, or I mean a belly band going the opposite direction. And it just is giving you something to stick extra things into. You don't have to fill everything. You can always go back and add things. A lot of times you use those tucks to, like, you know, when you're doing journaling, maybe you get a ticket to a show and you want to put it in there, or photos of your family. Okay, I decided for this, I want to use a brighter color and then have a tuck in it that's also brighter. But I want to put an image. I have a few of these left, so I'm thinking I'll put one of these on here. But this isn't completely done yet. I cut the pages. They're 7.5 by 3.5, and I folded it in half so that it makes a little notebook. And then I can staple the inside pages. And I have a little notebook, a very simple make. And then you just need to add a little bit of bling to give it character. So if you don't want to sit and make these by hand, there's a lot of companies that have pre-made ephemera, like Tim Holtz has a lot of different types, photos and images that are vintage. And then there's like Papercraft, a company that Hobby Lobby carries. They have a bunch. I'm going to ink this before I put it in there. Even though it's a bright white, I kind of want them to have a similar look to them, at least, instead of it looking like it doesn't belong. And because this can be pulled out, I'm going to do both sides. If I was really being obnoxious, I'd go through and do the edges of the pages. Sometimes I'll run a pair of scissors along the edges of the pages of the notebook to make sure that they look equally worn. In this case, I'm not really that worried about it. I did mix the different types of papers to add character, and this is some stamping done with homemade stamps. Okay, so she's done. She'll go in there. And this one I just glued some lace on. It already has lines for writing, so for now I'm not going to add anything to that one. So we have our tucks on this page. We have a belly band. We should have something here, even if it's just a little bit of writing space, so that it looks like it has some personality. I have this that could be glued in. Maybe like, ooh, that work? Maybe like this? No, that would be upside down. Oh, decisions. Maybe I'll do this, and then it can be a fold out. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna glue it like a tuck in case later on I want to put something in the back of it. So I'll do the side, the bottom, and the side. Make sure you have ample glue on there, so it's gonna hold weight when people open it up. So you have to be generous with the glue. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that's got some pressure from both sides. Sweet, I like it. So you can open it up both directions, right in it. Could put some image on there. She's a bit too big for that. I'll see if I can find something better later. All right, so so we might need something to pin that. I have some monster paper clips here. And I have an orange that looks like it would go pretty well. So what we can do is either paper clip it. Well, we could paper clip it this way. It's going to add some weight. That's where the tuck is. So if we go down the tuck, this could work. There. And I could pull the tuck off. I do have to cover this staple though. So I have some of this left over from the other page. That can be part of it. I have this little sign, but it's not super strong, so I need to glue it to something. I'm going to ink it first though before I forget. Alright, I have some black paper. I can glue it to. Spread that around. Rather than getting a paper cutter out. I mean, really, you could cut it all by hand if you wanted to, because the beauty of junk journaling is that it's supposed to look like it's made from scraps. Okay, so if we have this, I need to be able to put that paper clip there, but I want to cover that staple, so I'm going to put it to the edge like this. So I'm going to do 2 layers of glue. I'm going to put some glue here to hold that mesh in place, and then I'm going to put it on the whole back side and make sure I have plenty, because it needs to go through that mesh onto both pieces of paper and be solid enough to handle someone accidentally putting that paper clip in the wrong spot if they jerk on it. There we go. Wow, it's coming together. Okay, so I was thinking we could either have her, or I do have, where'd my kitty go? I have this kitty, and I kind of like him. He'll add a little bit of sturdiness when we tuck things into that. Let's see what tuck I'm going to put in there, though. I want to make sure that it will all go together. Is that too tall? Yes. That could go in there. Not easily, though. I don't really like that, no. But we could do something like this and have him here. That could work. I'm gonna go with it. Now this one's wooden, so I don't put it on the regular paper pages. It's just too heavy and bulky. Oh, wait a minute. I don't want that part to glue down. Just the kitty. All right. So I'm actually going to put this page on the top. I got to get to the clips here. Open it up, and each of these clips, they push out and then open, which is a little bit different than what most mechanical ones are like. And I want this one to go first, so I'm going to hang it upside down on these rings. They opened different amounts, so that's awkward, but and then I'm going to put this one in. And you could sit and add details to these pages forever. I'm gonna finish up here because otherwise the book will never be done for you, but here's our book. We have our signature and the second signature. Here, we can clip this one down too. It's probably better with a smaller paper clip, but for now this is what I have next to me, so we'll just use a big one. So you can clip this down and then they can pull the clip and open it up to write in it. There's some writing space. These tucks. I did want to put something on here, and I'm wondering if I have some Halloween books here. And I tore out a bunch of pieces when I was working on the master board. I have little bundles and things that I could easily add some bling to them. I have like spooky houses. This is kind of like a Halloween image. They're not great by themselves, but if we do some layering, we could make it look pretty cool. He's pretty cool. So I could do like a layer like this. This is Baubles and Apples. This has a little like demon guy on it. That could be one. So if we take some of these paper bundles, let's see. Like I could do something like this, just for an edge, because it's got to be able to tuck and not get stuck on things. Could do something like that. Some of these bundles are already stapled. Here's kind of a foggy day. It's not super great. But together with some other things, it might not be too bad. That could work. I actually really like that. So we could do one like this. Where did my other ones go? Here we go. So if we do one like this, one like that. I have this one. That could work. This one's bigger, but I like it better, so I don't want to give it up. We have sort of a haunted house thing going on. That might be too much. If I do it the other direction. I'm gonna make it a little smaller here. That could work. I don't know if you can still see. I'm still moving stuff around here, but I think I want a little something behind him. Same thing with this guy. I think if I have another layer, yeah, that would be better. And what can I do for a layer here? Could do, no. I could stare at these forever. Maybe I'll get rid of this straight edge one and put something a little bit wilder. That's better. All right, we're gonna glue these on. I do need to edge things a little bit, make them, ink them a little bit, make them look a little bit more aged so they all blend together. Now, where did I put my little dauber? There it is. Okay, so this is ground espresso. I don't remember how I had that anymore. That'll work. Okay, let's Oh wait, I didn't do this. Then we'll glue it together. All right, time to assemble. Okay, I'm gonna glue all these little pieces together before I stick it on the page. Definitely running out of glue. You can always tear off anything that hangs off the edge if it's in the way of being able to tuck it in. I usually glue everything on first and then go back and take stuff off if there's an overhang. It gives me a little bit more freedom when I'm putting it down to kind of line it up the way I want it to. Otherwise, I might cut it too short. I always cut it too short. Okay, that one's done. Sometimes when I don't want to get my fingers covered in glue, I use the tip of the glue thing, but it does get a bit messy when I do that. That's why there's all this glop on my glue. Well, there, I got glue on my hands anyway. Serves me right. Oh, well, have a little bit of glue on there, but if it doesn't look right, I can always ink over it to hide my glue mistake. Okay, I'm gonna let that one dry and do this last one. This one won't be as much because I stapled it together. Stapling is a much more efficient way of putting these together, but all right. I'm excited to see how these look in there. Oh, how do I do this? Oh yeah, like that. Sweet. Oh, these turned out cute. Okay. Oh, I love it. It adds just enough character. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Okay. I love it. Now, I need to find a home for her. I stitched her. I love her. I just got to figure out where I want her to be. And I could put her there because I'm not really loving how that looked. But let's see if there's a better spot. These are all pretty loaded up. No, I think she's going to go here. I have to. She's just too cute. I can't throw her out. I mean, not throw her out, but throw her back in the bin for another day. She's got to go on this one. So I just got to figure out where I want her on here now. I want her to overlap the writing a little bit. I don't know why I'm being such a perfectionist, but I guess I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna put her right here. She looks better there. Okay. I can spend too much time thinking about it sometimes, and it just, it can be a bit much for other people to watch. Perfect. I love it. All right, so let's do one last little flip through here. I think I'm going to tie him a little tighter, actually, if I can get him off again. Well, maybe I can't. Oh, there it goes. Just because when he flops, he really goes all over the place. So I'm going to wind him up a little bit closer to the, there. I think that will work, yeah. Then he's less floppy. So we have our turnout. We have our notebook tuck. It's a matchbook notebook with pages to write in. We have a tuck here that opens up that we could add stuff to if we really were feeling adventurous, but I think I've done more than enough for one time or one project. This opens up for writing space. This one opens up and folds out. There's little notebook spots in here. And a pocket there if somebody really wants to tuck something in. We have a belly band and another belly band for tucking things. This is a little writing spot. We have a tuck that can be written on. More blank pages for writing. Another tuck. Our other tuck. These are so cute. I'm so glad I did that. This is, excuse me, a 3-fold that I just have some brown paper to be able to write on. And it has a little bit of bling on the back, but not much. And then we have our little 3-fold notebook here. That's it. It turned out great. I'm so excited. Well, thanks for joining me, and I hope you have as much fun as I did putting yours together.